Hello everyone, this is Gail from Gail's Upstairs Studio. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're all having a decent winter. It's getting a little long, but this is usually when it feels the longest, around the end of January, 1st of February. Today I thought I would share a nice little surprise I found while shopping the other day. It is the On the Bright Side coloring book by Elise Burns. It was published in 2023, but I had never noticed it or heard about it, and I do follow her on Instagram and never heard anything of it until I saw it in Hobby Lobby, and it was a little on the pricey side. It was $16.99, I think, which is a little pricey for a coloring book, but when I picked it up and even just felt it, it is a step up from a lot of adult coloring books that I've had in the past, and I have had a few. And I kind of just stopped using them, wasn't interested anymore. But this one caught my fancy. Let's just tour the book a little bit first. The cover is very nice, and it's got some gold accents on it. I don't know if it's showing up on camera. Yeah, it is. And another thing that it has right off the bat that I noticed is it's got a flap on the front cover and on the back cover, which comes in handy for something that I'll talk about in a bit. And this is Elise Burns, and the book just starts with, it's very nicely put together, and it starts with talking about what this coloring book is and meeting her and answering some questions and some coloring tips and even layout tips. And this one is a very nice page. It is a selection of palettes to go by if you choose to, just some color suggestions, and also on this page, if you wanted to try to match up those colors with some of any medium that you wanted to use in here, you could. Speaking of mediums, she mentions, I believe in here, I haven't read all of everything that she has written, but she does mention colored pencil and markers. And so I decided that I would have a go at a few different mediums to see exactly what I would like to use in it. But first of all, I wanted to show you, this is a coloring page, and one of the other nice things about this book that I really like that's different from other color books I've had is on the back of this page. You can tell that it's the page that you're working on the front here, because it has it right here. And this is a worksheet, and it allows you to swatch out some colors that you want to try, who it's colored by, and what materials you're using for this one, so you can refer back if you want to. And this kind of also leads into something I'll talk about when I show you a few things that I've done. The paper quality. You're going to be writing and doing some color things on the back. So I was interested to see if there'd be any bleed through depending on what you were using, especially markers. So we're going to show that in a minute. And I will just do a quick flip through of some of the pages in here. She has some lettering pieces, and some are just small pieces that you can use for other things. Some are full-on pictures. I like this one. It's oranges. And some are very detailed and small, and some are big areas in which to color. And I like the variety, because you never know what kind of mood you're in. So that is what is in the book. I'm going to put this aside for a minute and show you some of the things I've done. this was the first page I did, and I really like the way it came out. Now it is bowed a little bit, but it's because of what I did with it. I decided, I think colored pencils, of course, are going to work wonderfully in it. And so I didn't bother with just colored pencils. I decided to take out my Cezanne colored pencil set and pick a few colors. And I colored it in with colored pencil, and then I rendered it out with a water brush. Now, I haven't tried full-on watercolor with this, like watercolor paint with a paintbrush, because this paper isn't really built for that. But I actually found that using a water brush and the watercolor pencils, it actually worked it took it very nicely. And you'll notice on the back, it's the worksheet that I filled in the different colors and wrote what it was. But if I lay this flat, there is no bleed through. And so this paper quality is very good for that. Like I said, I don't know that I would use watercolor and a paintbrush, because I think that would make it too wet. But with just the water brush, there's a little bit of control as to how much water comes out, and I think that that works perfectly fine. And I did that in a couple of hours on my couch one night, and I really enjoyed it. So then I decided, well, let's test it a little further. And I dug out some of my Artix acrylic markers. I've shown these in videos recently. I've done a video using them, actually. So I thought, let's see how that goes. First of all, I will show you the back side. And this was the color swatching that I did, and I wrote that it was acrylic markers by Artix. But if I hold it flat against the surface, you can't see any bleed through from the other side. But when you turn it over, there's certainly a lot of vibrant color on that. I did this one, and then I also did this one with the same color story as I did on the front, and I picked the front. I picked this one because it kind of looked like the cover of the book. So I thought that would be fun to do and to match up the colors the best I could. And they performed wonderfully. This one is a really good one to look at the back, because I didn't bother to do the swatch circles because I was using the same ones there. But no bleed through at all, and it lays nice and flat. Ones that have more color on them obviously are going to bow up at the corners a little bit, but they do still lay nice and flat with as much as you're putting on them. And then finally, I decided to dig out some Tombow watercolor markers, or water-based markers, I should say. I use these a lot for lettering. I've never really used them much for coloring or for any other artwork, doodling or anything actually. So I thought, well, why don't we try that? And we'll bring out the back side first to show you. This is a little smudge from a colored pencil that I was using on something else actually. But this is the back, and the front is completely designed, and there is no bleed through. And these are the swatches from the colors I used, and if you turn it over, you don't see any bleed through on the front either. And what I was really pleased with is I was able to add layers to this, because I went around this flower, for instance, I went around with the darker pink to do my deeper values, and then I went from the edges down into the deep, right over it with the light, and then when I was done, I went back in with the dark to deepen these tones, and the paper held up wonderfully. I think this was the hardest I was on the paper, actually, is with the watercolor, the water-based markers, and I didn't have any trouble at all with it. And where I really layered up was on these leaves here, because I had started with this green and this green, and I really didn't like it for those leaves. So I added this one for veins and things to green it up a little bit more, and there is no extra texture on them, and that's 3 or 4 layers going on top of each other, and it handled it well, very well. So those are the 3 mediums that I've used on this book, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I am going to show you. I told you I was going to talk a little bit more about why I liked the fact that there were flaps in the back of this book. In order to really get the best coloring experience, and she talks about this in the beginning of the book, even though it would be nice, and she says in here, it would be nice to be able to have a full book of pretty things at the end, you get a better coloring experience on a flat page. So she perforated all of these so that you can tear them out when you go to work on them. And that's where these flaps come in handy, because when you're done, I like to slide them right in the back, just in case I want to color a picture with some of the same colors and I want to see the swatches that I did or something, and then it folds right up nicely. So I have to say I really enjoy this book, and I might be revisiting it again at some point on camera even. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.